Hello, I'm Rover, and you're about to listen to a chapter of the audio version of my book, The Moongazers, a pirate queer adventure story. This is a 30-chapter series. Are you enjoying this project, and would you like to support me? You can do that by becoming a patron or buy me a coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. Enjoy! Chapter 7. Frey. Kathy stands on deck, wringing her hands as crew members haul down the solar panels. Her hair blows in all possible directions as she looks delighted. All day and all night the Wyckoff have been bustling with activity to get as many things as possible on board. Food, drinks, but mostly lots of tech. Solar panels, cables, transformers, jerry cans full of oil and diesel. I even saw a bicycle being lowered down. I don't know much about tech, and I can't say it's ever interested me. Why should I be? It doesn't work anymore anyway. Kathy, on the other hand, seems to know exactly what she's doing. Standing there, firm and steady, with her back straight and her legs planted wide, delegating tasks. She explains how to coil cables, how to disassemble solar panels. The clumsy, inexperienced and scared Kathy I saw on the ship has disappeared. Handing over the ship's map to Jude had cranked up the efficiency of the operation on board. 2 people had passed it from group to group, given directions on where to go, what to take, and how to get there. The operation ran more smoothly. Even though I found it curious, Jude didn't give any orders directly. After logging a bunch of batteries to the Wyckoff with Deva and Yara, it was time to do something about those dead bodies. It's never nice to leave dead bodies lying around for whoever enters the place next. Sometimes that doesn't matter. If I've invaded someone's home, I won't drag anyone out. But it's a different story in a place like this. A ship that anyone could dock onto. It would be bad for us to be linked to the bodies too. Getting rid of lifeless bodies is a pain. Carrying 2 corpses up the stairs and swinging them over the railing isn't as easy as it might seem. Before I could throw them overboard, some crew members stopped me. They wanted to give an appropriate farewell to the man. I had stared at them confused. I thought the sea was good enough of a sailor's grave. But apparently that was disrespectful. Why would we pay our respects to these men anyway, who, had they been given the chance, would have probably hurt and killed us? The short argument that followed led to a compromise. Deva and Yara covered the respectful bit and sent up a quick prayer as I shoved the bodies into the sea. Good riddance to bad trash. We're all tired as we're about to start the last project this morning. The solar panels are hoisted down carefully in an effort not to damage them. We don't have sufficient rope on board the ship, so we use the rope from our sails. I'm not meddling. I'm no more than an outsider who gets to have a look inside. There's a lot of shouting as the solar panels are lowered onto the deck. Looking at the folded up sails, it occurs to me that this is stupid. If the men come back with their ship, we won't be able to make an escape, as hoisting up the rope and reinstalling the sails would take too much time. But no one seems to be worrying about that, so maybe I shouldn't either. Watching Kathy happily clapping her hands and giving a high five to a couple of women, I suddenly sense someone tapping me on the shoulder. Standing behind me is Layla. She carries a backpack and looks tired. She too has been working all night. "Go get your stuff, we're moving quarters," she says. "Why? What's going on?" I ask. "You are no longer a guest. We've decided you're part of our little circle, so you'll sleep with us too." She brings me to the small cabin that I had been sleeping in until now, and I take my bag. Normally, this room is for the person who's done the night shift, Layla explains. Or anyone is sick, has their period, just needs a moment alone. This amazes me. Do people really whine about having their period? She leads me across the deck again and down some stairs to a part I hadn't been before, the hold. It's full of hammocks hanging in clusters of 4, 5, sometimes 6, and beside each cluster stands a trunk. We walk to the other end and stop at the last cluster of hammocks. That took a while. A voice comes from the only occupied hammock in the group. It is Deva, who is grinning at me while she says this. For now, you're part of us. Is that okay by you? I put down my backpack. What do you mean, us? I look at her and see her eyes twinkling. Kathy, Layla, and me. You're part of our circle. If you want, that is. Layla sits down in a hammock, takes off her sneakers, and then removes an old ragged sock, which she throws to Deva's head. Deva pulls a disgusted face and jumps from her hammock. I'm coming for you. I'm trying to have a serious conversation here, you old witch. Deva grabs hold of Layla's foot and starts tickling her furiously. The hammock flies wildly, and it doesn't take long before Layla is begging for mercy. There's a sudden silence, as if they realize I'm still there. Layla throws me a mistrustful glance. I hope you don't snore, Frey, because if you do, we'll send you to the snorer's corner over there. We value our sleep. And she winks. So, that's settled then? Jude's voice seems to come out of nowhere. I had been so distracted by the playful scene in front of me that I hadn't been paying attention. What on earth is this tickling and throwing socks at each other? Shouldn't we be preparing to get out of here as quickly as possible before being chased by whoever might be out there? And now they got caught by Jude in the middle of their childish act. Jude calmly stands against the wooden beam, observing the scene. I'm waiting for her to scold them for not being at work, but Layla and Deva don't alter their behavior. There's no guilt in their faces. They hardly even pay attention to their captain, standing right next to them. Well, she hasn't said yes yet, says Deva. No one says anything for a moment. But what exactly do I have to say yes to? I finally end up asking, a bit annoyed, because I have no idea what they're on about. Sleeping here seems fine. As far as I know, I don't snore. Aboard this ship, everyone has a circle, Deva explains. We take shifts together, we eat together. Every evening after having food, we go over the day, we take care of each other if someone falls sick, we train each other, and we are involved in each other's development. If there are any decisions to be taken, we take them together. And if the entire ship has to decide on something, we communicate our decision with the representatives of the other circles. It's simple, really. We organize decentrally, and Yara keeps an overview. Some circles are concerned with cooking, others with maintenance or tech. Obviously, there are circles who take care of sailing the ship. Every circle takes a cleaning shift unless they're exempt for some reason. Our task? Well, sometimes it's like yesterday. Sometimes it's protecting the captain if we go ashore. I'd like to think we're all pretty bold and know how to fight if we have to. That's our contribution to the collective. I nod. So we're like a small militia? Layla laughs and Deva snorts and looks disapprovingly, but it is Jude who answers. Not exactly. Everybody on this ship knows how to take care of themselves to some degree. But if we have to fight, protect or explore, your circle is in charge of that. That's where your expertise lies, and the rest of the crew will listen to you and trust you. I nod, slightly perplexed. Jude is the captain, Yara is second in command, and then there's Deva, and then there's the rest of us. I don't know why they need so many words to explain something so simple. What questions do you have? Jude asks. I swallow. I'm not used to asking questions. With all their eyes on me, I feel my throat tightening. I think I get it, I just say. Hoist the sails, we suddenly hear from above. Jude looks at me, and again I feel a kind of unease. I smile uncomfortably and sense a weird need to accompany her. However, she gives us a nod when leaving, and I turn around to sink into one of the hammocks. This is nothing like the bunk beds at the base, or the dusty carpets and forest soil I've been sleeping on this last period. But I think I get used to it. Gee, Frey, you're intense, Layla exclaims. You should have seen yourself standing there, hardly saying a word, staring all the time, and then that sheepish smile you made at the captain, ha ha. I turn red and don't say anything. To ease the tension, Layla smiles at me enthusiastically, as if she suddenly remembers something and says, Thanks for saving my life, by the way. The way you threw that knife, how did you do that? Can you teach me? How do you learn it? Where are you from? How long had you been at sea before we found you? Her rapid-fire questions overwhelm me, and I don't know what to say. So I just smile nervously and respond, Tomorrow. Take it easy, Layla, Deva says. She's just been here for 4 days. We all get nervous starting out. Playfully, she throws her pillow at Layla. It looks like a children's sleepover. Is there anything we should do? I ask Deva. What are your orders? But it's Layla who responds. Orders are, take a nap, Frey. Laughing, she continues. This is our day off. We can use the 8 coming hours as we see fit. We'll take some time to rest, and then we'll debrief yesterday's mission. Deva and Layla climb into a hammock together, and I see them holding hands. Alarmed, I look around. What would the rest of the crew say about our inappropriate show of affection? But no one seems to even notice, as if this were the most normal thing in the world. I used to sleep in one bed with Ray sometimes, but we'd always go back to our own beds before sunrise, afraid as we were that anyone would find out. Sleep well, Frey, they mumble in unison before dozing off. I turn around, too tired to think any more about it, and I accept the sleep washing over me. I wake up startled when I notice my hammock shaking wildly. I grab the wrist of the person waking me and try to get an upper hand. It's Kathy. Sorry, I mutter, as I let go of her. She looks at me with alarm, but nods. Time to get up, she says. I crawl out of my sleeping bag and follow her up to the deck. I feel nauseous again and start looking for Yara immediately. Not fast enough though, as my stomach is rebelling and only calms down after I unelegantly spewed last night's dinner over the railing. I look across the deck and see Jude standing at the helm. For a second she looks back at me with worry in her eyes, but then she turns away to say something to the person standing next to her. Vomiting is a relief, and I can think clearly again. I realize we're speeding up. The wind is blowing in the sails. The Wyckoff lies more deeply in the water, probably because of all its new cargo. The SS Opal is nowhere to be seen anymore. Would it wash ashore somewhere? What happens to a ship like that? Would it just sink at some point? Or keep on floating around forever? The Wyckoff is heaving on the waves, and I feel my nausea surging up once more. Luckily, Deva arrives just in time to hand me another dose of the brew Yara had given me before. This will help, she says. She points at her circle. Our circle. We're having food over there. Are you coming? I quickly down the medicine and I follow her. This morning, we're welcomed to a feast prepared from the SS Opel loot. Or actually, I realize I can't tell whether this is breakfast or lunch. How long have we slept? But I forget to ask about this as soon as I smell the food in front of me. Today, the usual porridge is stuffed with dried fruit, seeds and kernels. I can even taste cinnamon. Then, canned pineapple is passed around. I savor its sweetness. The juice from the can drips from my chin. It's been years since I tasted this. When I look up, I can see I'm not the only one. The light flickers between full mouths. Without knowing these people very well, I can say for sure that the last time that they ate pineapple lies in a distant past. In silence, we devour this blessing and are thrown back to a time in which this was a common flavor. When was the last time you ate this? Layla asks to no one in particular. A long time ago, Deva answers and starts reminiscing about her mom's garlic sauce with pineapple juice. When we're done eating, we move as a circle to the captain's cabin. Are we allowed to be here? I ask Deva in surprise. The ship is ours, as much as it is hers, she answers curtly. When we have to talk through something, it helps being out of everyone's earshot. It's beyond me how Jude is keeping this bunch under control. Being this permissive, sooner or later she'll have her crew questioning her authority. Deva pulls a stool from a cupboard, and the rest of us plop down on the floor, making ourselves comfortable against the walls of the small room. I look around expectantly. Debriefing a mission is familiar ground. I've done this before. We talk about what worked, who could have done what faster or better, which strategic considerations had proven right, and which ones less so. Sometimes we did that analysis by ourselves. Other times Torben was there to give us unvarnished opinions. But Deva's opening sentence leaves me speechless. Let's start with a check-in. Tell us how you feel about the mission. If you have been bothered or frustrated by anything in the circle. Everybody gets their turn. Based on that, we'll set our agenda. I look at her, dumbstruck. What I felt, what I found annoying. It's not something to ask about. In this profession, you do what you have to do and don't ask too many questions. If you leave too much room for feelings, don't you end up indulging each other? And then, how can you count on each other under whatever circumstances? I'll go first, Kathy says. Let Frey go last, so she can listen first, she adds. I feel happy that our mission succeeded and that we got everything on board, and I'm grateful I could join you all. She's quiet for a moment. I had really underestimated the climbing up the ship. I never climbed up that high, and I was scared. Thankfully, Frey was right behind me, so I felt I wasn't alone. She stretched her legs and looks at Layla and Deva. What I didn't like was that you had already taken off when we arrived on the deck. What if Frey hadn't been with us? Would you have waited for me? The two of you can get so absorbed in what you're doing that you forget I'm there. I know I'm not as fast as you are, but it feels like you don't care about me when you leave like that. Deva and Layla are shifting about uneasily. I'm holding my breath and waiting for their reaction. Surely they'll scold her and tell her that being slow held up the group and that she'd better stay home next time or get quicker. But that doesn't happen. Thank you, Kathy. It's all that Deva says, and then it's quiet again. I don't dare breach the silence, but the ease with which Deva accepts this from an inferior surprises me. Layla clears her throat and starts speaking nervously. I'm pretty much fine again now, but it's been a really long night. I'm happy I managed to sleep well. Yesterday was really intense. It's been a serious wake-up call to stay much more alert. When those men tied us up, I was so scared. I knew we'd find a way to get out of there, but feeling that vulnerable? Layla shivers and a tear rolls down her cheek. Deva takes her hand and she continues. I talked Deva into taking a look inside. I let my curiosity get the better of my judgment. I'm sorry about that. Her eyes meet ours as she pronounces her last words. Once more, Kathy's only response is, thank you for sharing that. It's Deva's turn to talk. She brushes her hand through her hair as she speaks. This was the first mission I've led in a long time. I found it difficult to suddenly be in charge. I know I prepared it well, and you would listen to me. Even so, I ended up pleasing Layla, and I'm not sure whether I made the right decisions. I also realized I was completely distracted when the rest of the crew came on board. Afterwards, I heard that Frey went on an adventure of her own that I hadn't been aware of, and she looks at me briefly. It was pretty hard for me that a new person suddenly joined us. I wasn't well enough prepared for that, and I hadn't had time to think about how to involve you, nor did I know whether we could trust you with all the information. Maybe I'm already being defensive now, and maybe I don't have to be. She hangs her head and massages her neck. Thank you for sharing, Kathy and Layla respond. I start to feel a bit queasy at all these thank yous, let alone at what's being discussed here. So is this what they want from me now? A horrible silence falls as their eyes fix on me. The only thing we hear are the waves and the squeaking and creaking of the ship. I turn red. My training has taught me to keep secrets, to maintain a neutral expression, to disclose nothing. But sometimes I turn red, and I turn even redder because I turn red. I stammer a bit and start piecing together some phrases in an effort to participate in this strange ritual. I woke up feeling nauseous, but I'm a bit better after taking that drink you gave me. I feel fine. Yesterday was all right. Everyone is still here, and I think that what needed to be done was done, and eating pineapple again was special for me. They all look at me. I heard from Jude that you almost went overboard in one of those orange contraptions, Layla said carefully. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that? Shit, everybody knows everything here. My body turns hot and cold, and I don't know what to say. In the end, I softly sigh. I just want to get back to my life. Deva puts her hand on my shoulder and looks at me compassionately, but I shake her off. Their eyes feel like lasers burning their way inside me. I have to distract them. I don't like these pitiful faces. And this entire conversation, what's the use of it? Whoever has time for all this feely stuff? The tension in the atmosphere is broken by Kathy. If we were to redo this mission, how would you go about it? I sigh. Great, a different topic. I wonder for a moment if it's wise to share my opinion, but until I find a way off this ship, or some other means of reaching Ray, I'd better play along. If I were in charge, I'd have a better plan about what to do once we got on board. I'd have practiced several scenarios. Kathy clearly wasn't strong enough for that climb, and she has little experience. Switching on the lights, shouting while your enemies are around. We also wandered around that ship too long, searching for specific places. Had we gone straight to the wheelhouse and found the ship's map, we'd have been much faster. Another thing, hanging a red flag on the ship, that's like announcing for everyone far and wide You've taken it over. You also got taken by those men very easily. Were you even carrying any weapons? Before a mission like this, you go through the possibilities. You discuss the risks and practice the skills you need. The impression I got was that you were just improvising. Such a mission is too dangerous for that. We need to be more professional. I rattle on a while longer. I don't know I had this many opinions about it. But analyzing what transpired, it's much easier than these other conversations. This is what I know, and I don't want to talk about escaping. My family or Ray. The group listens attentively as I trash their mission. Once I finish my monologue, I brace myself for their reactions. But all I hear is Deva saying, "Thank you for sharing." The conversation runs in the same way a while longer. Kathy says she'd overestimated herself. Deva shares what carrying these responsibilities did to her. Layla talks about the guilt she feels. I drift off in thoughts and try to imagine what would have happened on the base if we had debriefed our missions like this. We used to grab maps and papers, went through the events chronologically, what had happened and how we had done it. Oftentimes, men in expensive suits took their seats in these conversations and interrogated us about our decisions. The thought of talking about feeling guilt in a setting like that almost made me chuckle. After evaluating the mission, we plan what we're going to do in the days ahead. Apparently, Deva isn't the leader of the circle. I found this out when we voted that Layla will be the group's representative this coming week, and she'll facilitate our meetings. She has to make sure that we arrive where we need to be on time, but also that we have meetings every day. Every morning, we train with whoever wants to. Then, Kathy goes off to the tech room, and we will prepare missions. In the evenings, we'll do 2 hours of housekeeping work, filling and purifying water, tidying, cleaning, washing. The remaining time, we're free to join other groups to learn things or take time off. I find out that Layla likes to spend that time playing music, and Kathy helps to repair things. Deva says she joins a reading group for political education. What would I like to do? I haven't had free time in ages. Maybe I can find out what a facilitator is, or where the ship is headed now. Or I might find a way to contact Ray. All this new information makes my head spin. I listen and let it sink in. I might stay on this boat until its final destination. In the rhythm of these people, the rhythm of the waves. On the deck, I stand staring at the horizon for some time, thinking about my sister Tyra and Ray, knowing I'm only sailing further away from them. I try telling myself I could be open to these new experiences. I can try to occupy this new place that I've fallen into. I could learn about the working headlights these people have, the tech they have gathered, and what they'll use it for. Maybe that way I can make my stay here useful. Embraced by the hall's darkness, I reach for the lockbox next to the door. My senses focused on the passageway behind me, on the alert for a pursuer, a surprise, a trap. From my bag, I take a small iron strip I had put there earlier this morning. It's less than 1 millimeter thick and a few centimeters long. I place it between the small numbers on the grey lockbox, between the rod that keeps the cogs in place. I turn one of the cogs. Its engraved number is visible in the dark. I breathe rapidly. My hands are slightly sweaty. I try to sense a change in its tension as I turn the cog, until cog by cog the lock clicks into place. Right now, there's nothing but me and this small grey box that contains the key to the door. My ears catch the sound of footsteps, which reminds me to hurry up. I open the lockbox, grab the key it holds, close it back up, and try to open the door before anyone overtakes me. Every confrontation with someone else only distracts me from the objective of this challenge: to be the first to come out of the labyrinth. The obstacles in the labyrinth includes climbing walls, breaking open doors, and solving puzzles. I think this is the last door. The footsteps behind me are getting louder, but I put the key in the lock, pull the door towards me, and I open it. I recoil in the blinding daylight, set the door ajar, and allow my eyes to adjust to the light before I set forth to my next task. The footsteps behind me speed up. The person trailing me probably got a motivational boost seeing the light at the end of the wall. A hall which took me 5 minutes to run through. I push the door open a little wider and see a large shape running towards me. It must be Mace or Talcon. Grinning widely, I step into the next hall, pull the door shut, and turn the key in the lock. I should be hurrying on, but I can't help waiting one more moment to hear the chunky body crashing against the door, only to find I have taken the key with me. At the end of this hall, I see Ray, her long red hair in its usual braid, dressed in all black. I sprint towards them. They have a small crowbar stuck in a door. They throw me another one, and without speaking a word, we start taking turns putting our crowbars between it. We start high. Ray pushes against the iron bar to make room for mine. I put mine below theirs, and so we skip over each other downward until the door pops open. We take a look at each other and start running across the grey yard. There isn't a door or gate to be seen, so we climb across the wall. My heart is pounding and my feet and legs try to grasp hold of whatever they can, until I make my way across the hall and land with a thud on the sandy ground. There, outside the complex, sits Torben in a large armchair. As I try to regulate my breath, I see Tyra standing beside him. Not a glance of recognition, no pride, no reaction. She stands there, statue-like, her straight dark blonde hair cut elegantly in a bob. She has a slightly pointy but elegant face, a small nose and green eyes. Her left eyebrow is cleft from a fall she took as a child. It gives her an eccentric look, as if she'd done it on purpose. Sometimes she covers the scar with a brown pencil to make it stand out less. For someone who shouldn't be too conspicuous or recognizable, a scar is a blemish, a disadvantage. But Torben doesn't ask her to creep in the shadows as we do. Maybe she has another part in his game. I don't know. That information is secret. Now she stands there, scribbling down our arrival times. Torben claps his hands and points us towards a little bench, signaling we can sit down while we wait for the others. I stretch my limbs and take a gulp from a water bottle. I try keeping my eyes off Tyra. Don't show anyone what you care about, Frey, she had whispered to me a few years ago. You only show them what they can take away from you. That had been a long time ago. A hot summer day, almost as hot as today. I had been allowed to see Tyra for only a brief moment. She had worn big clothes and her face looked slightly puffy. She was 18 and I 15. Never show your weakness, Frey. Don't bond with anyone. Fight for yourself, she had told me. It had taken another year before I had been allowed to see her again. I feel a knot in my stomach thinking of that time, when I never knew if I would ever see her again. One by one, the others climb the wall and Tyra jots down their time in silence. I hang on to the thought that she's doing this for a reason, keeping me at distance, refusing to recognize me. And maybe one day, it will be different.
These mountains that always been are vibrating in the air, is filled with the sounds of machines. The stars will never shine bright. The stars will never shine bright. The stars will never shine bright with a glow of a city nearby. Nothing is intact. Everything is broken, taken or claimed. Nothing is intact. Everything is broken, taken or claimed. Pre-designed paths, artificial living. All is made of plastic in a blurry reality. Pre-designed paths, artificial living. All is made of plastic in a blurry reality. To get really lost? What does it take to get really lost? This death is gone, civilization is genocide and extermination. This wilderness is domesticated. This wilderness is domesticated. This death is gone, civilization is genocide and extermination. This wilderness is domesticated. This wilderness is domesticated. These mountains that always been are vibrating in the air, is filled with the sounds of machines. These mountains that always been are vibrating in the air, is filled with the sounds of machines. The stars will never shine bright with a glow of a city. These mountains that always been are vibrating in the air, is filled with the sounds of machines. The stars will never shine sounds of machines. With a glow of the sounds of machines. Fill with 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 the sounds of machines.